Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we'll be studying today human heart. Now see one thing, if you know very well, the human heart, check carefully the theory, it is mesodermal in origin and it is situated in thoracic cavity in between the two lungs, and it is slightly tilted to the left and size is nearly clenched fist, and it is protected by a double wall membranous bag known as pericardium. In between that the fluid is present that is known as pericardial fluid. You can see the diagram here. Check carefully, this is the apex of the heart. Focus please, this is the apex of the heart which is resting on the diaphragm. Is it clear? This is the apex of the heart which rests on the diaphragm. Now heart has got four chambers. See here, two upper are known as atria and lower are known as ventricle. The total chambers are four. Upper two chambers which are small, they are known as atria, and lower chambers are large, they are known as ventricles. Now in between the two atria is thin walled muscular partition is present that is known as interatrial septa. In between the two atria is thin walled, clear, muscular, but in between the two ventricle is thick walled, that is interventricular septa. So you can imagine this way, we can draw the diagram. Clear? This is the one diagram I am drawing it. So this septa present between the two atria, this is known as interatrial septa, which is thin walled. Interatrial septa, which is thin walled, and which is present between the two ventricles. This is known as interventricular septa, and this is thick walled. Please focus, this is thick walled and this is thin walled. This is according to your NEET PMT questions. I am trying to focus it. And both side of atria and ventricle, they are also having partition that is known as atrioventricular septa. The total septa, let us revise once again. If you see the diagram, let me draw it once again. Check here carefully. We can draw this partition, and with your, this is right hand, I'll write left atria and this is left ventricle. This is right atria and this is right ventricle. First of all, you should know which is right and which is left. Here we can focus, this is your interatrial septa, green color I am using it, interatrial septa. This is interventricular septa which is more thick. Then this is your atrioventricular septa present. So actually all four chambers are separated with the help of septa. Now what is the keyword you have to focus? In between the two atria or in between the two ventricle is muscular septa. But if you see, atrioventricular septa is not muscular, it is fibrous tissue. Atrioventricular septa is not muscular. Please focus, it is a fibrous tissue. Now, once again, let us revise it. You know very well this is the right atria. Clear? This is right atria and this is your right ventricle. This is left atria and this is the left ventricle. Here which septa will be present? This is known as interatrial septa. Okay. This is which septa present? Just imaginary diagram. This is interventricular septa. Here which septa will be present? This is atrioventricular septa. Clear beta? Atrioventricular septa. So interatrial is muscular, interventricular is muscular, but atrioventricular septa is always fibrous. And that is which fibrous? Thick fibrous. Atria are always receiving chambers. Atria, whether upper right atria or left atria, they both are receiving chambers. So they have to receive the blood. So they act as a low pressure collection only. They are responsible for the collection only. Ventricles are the one which have to pump the blood. They are the one which have to pump, and they have to pump at high pressure. So that's why ventricle walls will be more thick as compared to the atria wall. And they have to eject the blood with the high pressure. So see here carefully, if you see, atria will be thin walled as compared to the ventricle. We know this very well because ventricle are the one which have to pump the blood at high pressure. Now in that also, if you see, left ventricle is more thicker than the right ventricle. Why? Why left ventricle is more thicker than the right ventricle? Reason is, right ventricle has to pump blood only to the lungs. Very short distance they have to travel. only to the lungs, but left ventricle. Focus this diagram. This is the left ventricle diagram. This is the left ventricle diagram. Clear? This left ventricle, it has to pump the blood at high pressure to the entire body. So they must generate enough pressure to force the blood through the entire systemic circuit. Means from brain to the toes, everywhere, massive blood flow they have to pump. So that is why this thickness is very, very more as compared to the right ventricle. Is it clear? Left ventricle has got more thickness. Please focus. Why question can be asked. Why left ventricle has more thickness? Reason is they have to pump the blood to the entire body. Right ventricle has to pump blood where? It has to pump blood only to the lungs, which are nearby. Now, important thing is this ki valves are very important. The blood should go only in one direction. It should not flow back. So between the atria and ventricle, here this side, there is valve present that is known as atrioventricular valve. This is present between chamber to chamber, means it is present from, this is my left this is right atria and between the right ventricle. So this side is known as tricuspid valve. This side is known as tricuspid valve. And here if you see this side is also a atrioventricular valve which is having two cusps. You say this is bicuspid, also known as mitral valve. So learning tips is 32 formula. Please remember 32 formula. This side is tricuspid and this side is bicuspid. Okay, tricuspid and bicuspid, it is present between the atria and ventricle. Now another type of valve which is present between the ventricle and the artery. These are semilunar valve. These are semilunar valve which is present between the, you can see, I'll just highlight the diagram this way. You can see this is the blood ejecting out from the ventricles. These are semilunar valves. So semilunar valves are present between the ventricle and vessel, means between the chamber and the vessel. So it is present between the chamber to vessel. Okay, semilunar valve is present from chamber to the vessel. At the starting of the pulmonary trunk, we will say pulmonary valve. At the starting of the artery, we will say aortic valve. So there are four valves which are present in the heart. Now see the theory. We have already know atria and ventricle of the same side, they are separated by thick fibrous tissue that is known as atrioventricular septa. Clear? Now each septa is provided with an opening through which the two chambers of the same side are connected. Between right atria and right ventricle is a tricuspid valve made up of three muscular flap or cusp. And between the left atria and left ventricle is bicuspid, also known as mitral valve. Clear? Now, opening of right and left ventricle into the pulmonary trunk and left ventricle into the aorta, and that opening is guarded by the semilunar valve. So all the four valves theory is also here. Now what is the function of the valves? The function of the valve is to allow the blood flow only in one direction, means from atria to ventricle, that is through AV valve, and from ventricle to the trunks, respective trunks, whether pulmonary artery or aorta. They will try to prevent the backflow of the blood. Now, see carefully, how do they try to prevent the backflow of the blood? This is very interesting diagram, understand it carefully. You can see these are the papillary muscles. This right now, just how to focus, let me just 1 minute. This is your, I'm highlighting with, you can see these are your papillary muscles. Papillary muscles. And these papillary muscles, they are coming from this structure. This is known as columni carni. This is known as columni carni. Now from this is the cord-like structure is present, and this cord-like structure, which you can see, this cord-like structure, let me use the red color. See, this is the cord-like structure, you can see now, which is actually white. This I am highlighting it. This cord-like structure is known as chordae tendineae. So this is known as chordae tendineae. Actually, these papillary muscles which are attached to the chordae tendineae, or you can say chordae tendineae is attached to the papillary muscles, they are working, holding it like a string. The chordae tendineae is acting like a, you can see here, acting exactly like a parachute string, holding the canopy, means holding the, so that the cusp, this tricuspid and bicuspid, when ventricle pressure is increasing, when ventricle is increasing the pressure, to pump the blood or eject the blood into the pulmonary artery or aorta, then they will try to behave like this way so as to prevent the cusp from going back into the atria. Okay, into the atria. So what happened when the ventricles start building the pressure, because they have to eject the blood, the this way the blood force, the bicuspid and tricuspid valve, to prevent from going back into the atria, and they work like a shunt. They just like a close, they close it so that whatever blood is there, blood can be ejected out into the pulmonary artery or into the dorsal aorta. So I hope so this diagram is helping you to understand how the papillary muscles, chordae tendineae, they are working to prevent the cusp from going back, and they just work like a shut so that the blood can be ejected into the respective trunks. Now, if you see here, check the diagram very carefully. Check this, we know very well. This is a right atria and this is right ventricle. Right atria will receive the blood, deoxygenated blood it will receive. Okay, and it will pump the deoxygenated blood to the pulmonary artery. And this side is the one which is going to receive the oxygenated blood. This is the one which is receiving the oxygenated blood from the lungs, and from the left atria it is going to the left ventricle, and from left ventricle to the pulmonary artery is, sorry, through the dorsal aorta it is ejecting out. So basically you can see the visualization of the diagram very carefully. You can see right side of the heart is actually deoxygenated. It is receiving deoxygenated blood from the body. It is receiving deoxygenated blood from the body, and it is pumping the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation purpose. Left side of the heart is receiving oxygenated blood from the lung and pumping that blood to the entire body. Is it clear? Now, what is a path? If you see, let us study this diagram. Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, along with coronary sinus, deoxygenated blood is poured into the right atria. So this is the right atria which is receiving the blood from the superior vena cava as well as from inferior vena cava. It is receiving the blood, and from right atria through the atrioventricular valve it is going into the right ventricle. Is it clear? So upper chamber is collecting the blood, and finally what will happen through the gateway, tricuspid or bicuspid, through this gateway the blood is poured into the right ventricle. Now right ventricle, what it will do, it will pour the blood through the semilunar valve into the pulmonary trunk, and blood will be given to the right and left lung respectively for the oxygenation. So it is pumping the blood to the lungs, and blood is forced through the pulmonary valve, means semilunar valve, into the pulmonary artery for oxygenation. This is the way path for the deoxygenated blood. This is the path of the deoxygenated blood. Clear? Now see the path of the oxygenated blood. Right and left pulmonary vein, this is the pulmonary vein which is bringing the oxygenated blood, and they are pouring it into the left atria. Is it clear? They are pouring it into the left atria, left side. Okay, they are pouring it into the left atria, and from left atria the blood is going into the left ventricle. It is going through the bicuspid valve. It is going through the bicuspid valve. It is going into the left ventricle, and left ventricle through the semilunar valve it is pumping the blood into the aorta. It is pumping the blood into the aorta. Is it clear? So you have to just focus. This is a mistake here. It is not right. It is a left. And here it is again left. So left side is the one which is receiving oxygenated blood from the lungs and will pump the oxygenated blood into the aorta. Now see the aorta. Aorta has got three parts. One is your ascending aorta which is going up. This is the arch of aorta, and this is coming down from the heart dorsal side. We say dorsal aorta. Now Arch of aorta give rise to three main branches. One is brachiocephalic trunk. It gives rise to brachiocephalic trunk. One is left common carotid arteries, and third is your left subclavian arteries. So it is giving rise to three arteries. So I have focused this word this way: B, C, S. Okay. So brachiocephalic. This is brachiocephalic. This is left common carotid artery, and this is left subclavian artery. Let us study the conducting system of heart. Already one video is there, you can check it, but here I am just explaining in brief. See, this is SA node. I am highlighting with the blue color. You can see this is SA node, also known as pacemaker of a heart, which is present in the upper right corner of right atria. Clear? Upper right corner of right atria. So I'll just write it for you. This is present on the upper right corner of right atria. So this is your SA node. So this is your SA node. And then this is your, next is your AV node. So this is your AV node, and this AV node, let me write it, AV node is also present in the right atria but lower left corner. It is present in the lower left corner of right atria. So in between them, this is a internodal pathway. So nerve impulse which are generated in the SA node known as pacemaker is given to the AV node, and from AV node this is the AV bundle. Okay, this is AV bundle. I'm just highlighting it. Please focus. This is AV bundle, which is dividing into two: bundle of His. This is bundle of His, which is going into the right and left bundle for the right and left ventricle. So this is bundle of His, which is spreading down as a Purkinje fiber. This is Purkinje fiber, which is spreading in the entire ventricle as Purkinje fiber. So this is Purkinje fiber. So sequence you have to learn it. First SA node, then internodal pathway. This is just, let me write, this is your internodal pathway. Through internodal pathway, it will come to AV node, then it will come to AV bundle. Please focus, this is AV bundle. I am making a box around it. This is number 4th AV bundle, then bundle of His, and finally to the Purkinje fiber. So I hope so this video might be helpful for you to prepare for your NEET exam. Best of luck, and you can check the PDF for question practice in the down. You can check it down in the description, or it will be in the file attached. You will be finding it. Thanks for watching.